If there's one thing that unites Mexico, it's the taco. A simple corn tortilla. Topped, pinched and eaten as a whole, it's found everywhere and eaten by everyone.
Tres ingredientes principales: el guiso relleno, la tortilla y una buena salsa. Eso para mí es un taco.
Street taco stands are ubiquitous throughout Mexico. This one, close to Benny's fine dining restaurant, is run by Héctor Bautista.
Prácticamente todos los que vienen aquí pues, son los de las oficinas, choferes, escoltas. Pues mi trabajo es servirles parejo, no discriminar a nadie, prácticamente.
Héctor sells a single taco for 50 US cents. Yet where and how Mexicans eat tacos can say more about just their taste in food. At Benny's restaurant in Mexico City's high-end Polanco neighborhood, a single taco can cost $26.
Básicamente hay tacos en todo el país y va a variar dependiendo la zona, la cultura, incluso hasta en las familias, ¿no? Viene gente de la zona de Mazarik o de los alrededores, que sí es gente con un nivel adquisitivo más elevado, extranjeros, ese es el tipo de perfil.
On the street, the idea of paying such prices for a single taco is unthinkable.
No, pues carísimo. Sí, pues es lo que digo, pues es que depende de la zona, como pues, un ser humano que prácticamente pues, se puede decir que pues, no le importa lo económico, ¿no?
However, this vast difference in the price of a simple taco betrays a wider economic phenomenon. The fact that, in Mexico City, the wealth gap between the richest and the poorest is one of the widest anywhere in the world. Mexico City, home to over 21 million people, is one of the world's megacities. The Mexican capital has a GDP of more than $400 billion, nearly 20% of the entire country's economy. Built in the Valley of Mexico, it was first the seat of the Aztec Empire and then the viceroyalty of New Spain under European conquest. It's a place where societal divisions have always been marked. José Ramón Xilotl is a member of the Mexican Association of Urban Planners, who has studied the capital in depth.
If we look historically, there was always the caste systems that existed throughout New Spain. And whilst historically we say that these have broken up, the manner in which they were broken doesn't mean that it was through the resolution of inequality, but that inequality came out through different means, one of which is socioeconomic. And I think the difference that we see in Mexico in comparison to other countries is that the wealth gap is so large that it has cultural connotations towards it.
The wealth that exists in Mexico City is clear.
So in order to be categorized as middle income in Mexico, you actually have to be earning around 8,000 pesos a month, which is a little under $900 a month to be categorized as middle class. In order to be among the top 10, top 15% of income earners, you actually have to be earning around double that, around 16,000 pesos a month. Which, if you go around to most of these richer neighborhoods, you'll realize you couldn't rent an apartment at that price, even if you were to put 100% of your income towards it. So we are seeing extremes.
Indeed, while the average Mexico City resident earns $700 a month, the wealth gap is enormous. Adriana Perez, an anthropologist, has studied the polarized demographics of Mexico City.
Sobre todo en los últimos años se ha visto una población de la clase alta cada vez más chica. Incluso en la clase alta se ve una diferencia impresionante entre clases. A lo mejor un sueldo de 100,000 pesos al mes es algo inconcebible. Sin embargo, hay gente que percibe más de 1 millón de pesos al mes. La diferencia entre alguien que percibe 100,000 y 1 millón es gigante. Y para el mexicano promedio que gana 15,000 pesos al mes, Los dos son riquísimos, muy ricos. Los dos pertenecen a la clase alta.
However, the wealth gap doesn't separate society physically.
But it's very common in Latin America, where rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods will coexist right next to each other, because wealthy neighborhoods are a source of employment for poor neighborhoods. You will actually see that that people from different social classes will interact and have a sort of dependence upon one another.
Lomas de Chapultepec, in the west of the capital, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in this city. A 500 square meter house here costs, on average, $12 million. But it is surrounded by working class neighborhoods, where a family home may sell for less than $40,000.
I'm from Tijuana, and I was born and raised in San Diego, educated in Boston, New York, Monterey, and also lived in Paris, London, Madrid, and Mexico City, of course.
Hannah Jaff is a member of Mexico's ultra-wealthy classes.
Being Mexican is just amazing. I mean, I think I'm very, lucky to have been born Mexican, I mean, what's not to love, right? We have the best cuisine. I mean, it's such a lively city. I mean, the nightlife is crazy. It's just amazing. You could go to any restaurant at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it'll just be like a day club, and you'll know everyone or know lots of people, or everyone's 1 degree away. And we are loud and we are fun, and there is sort of a small bubble in a huge city.
But in Mexico City, those who live like Hannah are the privileged few. Maria Alcantara lives close to Lomas, in a working-class neighborhood. Life on the other side of the tracks is a separate reality.
Muy diferente porque hay más vigilancia. Pasan muchas patrullas, hay más gente caminando, tranquila. Pues luego vienen gente que no son de aquí y pues sí, pues hacen sus cosas feas. Pues se meten así a robar a las tiendas o así, pero...
There's some areas in Mexico that sort of don't notice that there's even crime in the country, right? So you don't notice if you don't listen or read about it or ask. So, and there's lots of people living like that, sadly, that don't know, or maybe just don't care.
Sí, pues están mejor cuidados, o sea, mejor alimentados. Pues nosotros sí tenemos como que una distinta forma de hablar, de expresarnos, ¿no? Porque pues vemos muchos que no tenemos estudios.
Maria works in the city's more affluent neighborhoods as a cleaner. She charges $16 a day for her services, barely enough to keep her family fed and pay her rent.
O sea, no vivo ni bien ni vivo mal. O sea, por lo indispensable, ahí más o menos. No me quejo. No me faltan los frijoles y el arroz. Entonces, entre comprar comida, entre juntar para la renta, entre pagar para los estudios de mis hijos, pues sí es un poco difícil.
What, 200 plus countries in the world, and we're one of the leading economies, and we have one of the poorest people in our country at 130 million people. 44% is extreme poverty. I mean, that's insane. How does that make sense? Where is all that money going then?
He encontrado, he ido a trabajar con gente déspota, pero sí hay gente que nos ve como por abajo de ellos. Como diré, nos humilla. Pues yo por mis conocimientos, yo sé que todos somos iguales. Sean ricos, sean pobres, todos valemos igual y somos lo mismo.
Even to me, it's happened where I'm in Mexico City, and I lived in Mexico City for 6 years. And I was still sort of, oh, you're just from a province in the north, right? And I was just like, well, that doesn't make you better than me, right? I don't know, you go to a restaurant when you're 15, 18, and the working class is helping, and they'll mistreat them. And if you sort of stick up for them, they'll criticize you as well.
For Maria's son, Jesus, in order to ascend the social ladder, he's clear about what he needs to do.
Estudiar sobre todo y tener proyectos en la vida. Con base a eso, crecer yo para poder ayudar a mi familia y de pronto si llegar a tener una familia que no les faltará lo primordial, que sea una casa, comida y sus estudios sobre todo.
Despite the enormous differences in life experience, living less than a kilometre from each other's front doors, the society in which Hannah and Maria live continues to function.
Yo creo que más que rencor es aspiracional. Uno siempre quiere ser más blanco, más rico, más. Uno siempre quiere ser más. Creo que de la clase baja hacia la alta hay más aspiración, pero de la alta a la baja siempre hay un rechazo, marcarlo como el otro, la diferencia, lo que no somos nosotros, ¿no?
While Mexico's rich get richer and the poor get poorer, the impacts of this cultural norm may be holding the country back in the long term. Arturo Huerta is an economist who has studied the phenomenon.
Hemos caído en un círculo vicioso, porque la creciente desigualdad del ingreso baja la demanda, ¿no? Porque aumenta el número de pobres, entonces por lo tanto disminuye su capacidad de consumo, disminuye la demanda, te frena el crecimiento económico, te frena la generación de empleo y en consecuencia esto te sigue contrayendo la demanda, contrayendo el mercado interno y nos ha llevado a un contexto de desaceleración de la actividad económica del país.
And as the formal economy shrinks, the diminishing purchasing power of the poorest isn't taken lying down, least of all when the state abandons the most impoverished.
You'll see neighborhoods where the police have simply abandoned them. And therefore, it becomes very easy for the neighbors to actually rob other neighbors and concentrate crimes in very specific places. So the effects of the socioeconomic differences are not felt the same way. No? And they're very much characterized by where you are within the social structure.
Indeed, the stark difference in economic power within Mexico City society is leading to physical expressions in how the city itself develops.
In terms of urban planning, where we see, for example, this as an effect of social isolation. You'll see it with what in urban planning we call defensive construction. So, for example, if you go to a neighborhood like Santa Fe or Interlomas, there are neighborhoods that are designed to be very difficult to get to. And either they will be walled off or require a car. I mean, you literally see that they were purposely constructed without sidewalks or without public transportation in order to separate the social classes. I mean, you're seeing Mexicans themselves who are growing isolated away from their culture.
It's a situation which will hurt Mexico in the long run.
Es decir, cómo vamos a ver una tendencia decreciente de la actividad económica, ¿no? Entonces, y esta mayor desigualdad, repito, perpetúa el contexto de desaceleración de la actividad económica porque te disminuye el poder adquisitivo de la población, ha aumentado el desempleo, el subempleo, predominan bajos salarios y en consecuencia esto te contrae el mercado interno, te viene a desacelerar la actividad económica y sigue el problema de desempleo, subempleo y miseria.
All problems which, according to studies on organised crime and the next generation's interest in working for criminal cartels, are major contributors to recruitment rates. Mexico City's economic inequality is not a phenomenon that is easing. If anything, money and wealth is fueling a growing separation in society. It's something which is fixed, Adriana Perez says, by good government.
Yo creo que lo importante sería hacer cambios estructurales. Creo que ahora tenemos la idea errónea de que el cambio está en ti, el cambio está en uno. Esta idea de la meritocracia, donde si tú te superas, si tú estudias, si tú trabajas, si tú sales todos los días a las 5 de la mañana de tu casa, vas a poder cambiar tu situación. Mientras que es un tema estructural totalmente. Si a mí el Estado inherentemente me está dando más privilegios, voy a hacer mucho más que a la otra persona que no le está dando nada.
I mean, I think the rich will get richer, and I think the poor will get poorer if we don't make changes. It's not just the government, people need to step up.
Encontrar la manera de universalizar los derechos, universalizar la educación, universalizar la salud, el sistema de salud, porque la mayoría de los mexicanos estamos a una enfermedad, a a un hospital stay de la quiebra. Si todas las personas tenemos acceso a lo mismo, probablemente podremos llegar juntos a un mejor puerto. Va a ser la manera en que podamos empezar a poner un piso igual para todas las personas. Entonces creo que más que un tema de yo buscar casarme con una mejor pareja, o yo buscar estudiar mejor, o yo buscar, tendríamos que aspirar a abrir todos los derechos a todas las personas.
No lo veo de ese lado, pues que se sientan con más poder, o más bien ni poder deben de tener porque somos iguales. Yo lo veo así, que todos somos iguales, tanto como el que genera más como el que genera menos, porque todos vamos a un solo lado. ¿Sí?